What's up, YouTube? So, around November is when I start cooling down my reptile room. I've been doing this for the past couple of years with some really good results. It's really beneficial for your reptiles and it really helps your animal live a longer life. It adds longevity to them and it really helps the animal when it comes to these common health problems as you see a lot of these animals have from overeating and getting fatty liver disease and things like that. So I basically just want to go into some of the basics that I do to start this process. And I do it for the entire reptile room. Of course, each enclosure is going to be a little bit different as far as what the humidity level and what the temperature level is. However, everybody basically gets a change in their environment. Now, the reason I do this is because around the world, whether you live in a tropical or a temperate climate, all environments change with the seasons. It just depends on how drastic. Even if you go up to areas where you can't find reptiles, where it's far too cold in the North Pole and things like that, you will see a difference in the light cycle and things like that, just to show that even in extreme conditions, things do change around the course of the year. Now, one thing I do around this time of year, I don't spray down the enclosures quite as much. Now, of course, I'm very careful with that with my monitors. I still spray them down, but I don't spray them down as often as I normally would because I'm trying to show that the warm, dry season is coming in. Now, when I do that, I make sure that the animals are eating enough insects that provide them enough moisture so that way the animals don't get dehydrated. But I want them to start realizing their environment's getting a little bit drier. Also, another thing that I change is their light cycle. So the light cycle that I provide these reptiles decreases fall going into winter. So during the summertime, I'll keep the lights on from, let's say, like 7 in the morning all the way up until 7 o'clock at night, or maybe even 8:30 to 8:30, something like that, 12-hour light cycle, where in the wintertime I decrease that back periodically all the way down to about 6 to 8 hours of light per day. So basically right now, since it gets dark around 4:30, 5 o'clock, that's the time that these guys are going to sleep. That's the time that all of their lights are going to go out. Another thing, can't edit that out. Oh well. Sorry guys, doing some leaves and kicked up my allergies a bit. But anyway, enough about me. More about the reptiles. Anyway, yeah, so around this time of year, I also stop feeding them high protein items because of course if there's less heat and humidity in the enclosure and it's cooler, they're going to have a tougher time breaking that stuff down. So I do change their diet as well. If you want to know full details on that, just message me in the bottom of this. Just leave a comment in this video. And what I'll do is I'll basically explain how I do it for each reptile because everybody's a little bit different. Now, for certain animals like my emerald swifts, they're from Costa Rica, right? And they're from cloud forest, rainforest. So I don't put as drastic of a change in there for these guys. However, they are in the Northeast. They're living in the Northeast with the rest of us. And of course, they're in a house, so they're not in, how can I put it? They're not outside exposed to all the elements. They do feel the difference. The biometric pressure outside is going to change. The temperature is going to change. However, since these animals are from an environment that is basically tropical all year round, I don't make as drastic of a change to these guys. I don't dry them out quite as much. But one thing I do around the winter time, I do make one small change where once their grass dies off, I stop planting it and I start laying out leaf litter within their enclosure. Kind of shows that it's fall time. I mean, these guys are related to the common fence lizard that you'll find on the East Coast, like the eastern fence lizard, and there's also a western locality of this animal as well. And these are basically their South American cousins, Central American cousins. But that's just something that I do so that way they can just see a change in the season. But these guys, even though I won't keep them as warm as I do during the summer, because of course the temperature in the room is going to change, I don't necessarily cool these guys down all the way. The monitors do get a full cool down where the heating elements are going to be switched off. So during the winter time, I keep the UVB running, and that alone will keep the enclosures a decent temperature, just slightly above room temperature. But of course, these part 30s and part 38s, these are the bulbs that are actually keeping it cooking hot in here, where it's going to feel like you're in the Australian outback or the savannas of Africa. Now, one thing I do, because I'm not spraying as much as well, I make sure my animals still have access to nice clean water. Now, even though animals like my Savannah here barely ever drink water, at least it's available to them in case they ever want it. I do give them some nice fresh substrate to dig into, so that way these animals can dig into the ground more, and they have nice moist substrate in the lower layers in case they want to hydrate themselves. Of course, I keep that all year round, but I double up on that in the wintertime. And of course, I spread some leaf litter in there. Shows a change of season, and it gives the animal some enrichment and something to forage through when they're hunting. Now, that's just some fall time fun. That's not really part of the cool down process, but it makes the process very interesting, and it's a lot of fun for me. Well, anyway, I'm not going to go into too much more detail about this. I think my Savannnahs is a little bit ticked off because he kind of came over to me looking for some food, and of course I'm not going to offer him food because feeding day was yesterday. You ate enough, buddy. Yeah, you eat the most out of everybody here. You're good. He's probably going to go in that hide over there. Nope, still hoping I'm going to feed him. Let me stop teasing him. But anyway, yeah, guys, that's what I do in the reptile room that has helped me the past couple years. Excuse the dirty glass. I have not cared about wiping the glass off past couple weeks because I've been very busy. And of course, water spots don't hurt your reptile. So on the priority list, it's one of those things where it's very minuscule and does not matter. So that means this is empty. So that means it's not something that I'm actually going to be paying attention to. What's up, Thunder? So yeah, guys, little by little, the enclosures are going to start to get a little bit cooler and drier now before we hit the winter time. They'll hit a nice fast. That'll give the animals a good chance to go through their winter cycles. And yeah, they'll have a nice winter of fasting, and then I can start waking them up in late winter, early spring, get them warmed up and get them heated back up and back to normal life. Well, anyway, guys, I hope you liked this video. This was a small skip. This was I guess an intro to how I do my cool down process over here at Scales 13. Everyone have a great day. Peace.